unprecedented declaration. He's taking what he calls a war on drugs and drug traffickers to the next level.
With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
According to the CDC, there were more than 80,000 overdose deaths in 2024 alone, and synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl, continue to play a role in the majority of those deaths. All right, Ellie, to you. Does this executive order give the president more power to do more than he's already doing that Congress has not actually approved these boat strikes?
No, it is completely meaningless. It's symbolic. Federal law describes what a weapon of mass destruction is. Generally, it has to be an incendiary device, something that blows up, something that shoots, something that disseminates poison, that kind of thing. If you commit a crime involving a weapon of mass destruction, there's very serious penalties involved. Could be life in prison, could be death if someone dies. But the president saying drugs or fentanyl are now weapons of mass destruction has zero legal impact. It's up to judges. It's up to the parties on a case-by-case basis. It's an interesting argument. It doesn't meet the definition, but it's like if the president declared that a slingshot is a firearm, it doesn't make it a firearm for legal purposes.
It would have to be Congress would have to change the statute.
Yes.
Right? It's not a judge couldn't just say fentanyl is a weapon because you said there's definition.
If they found that you somehow could shoehorn it into the definition.
That ain't why he's doing this, though. I mean, the reason he's doing this is because he wants to heighten the level of concern over fentanyl and drugs being imported into the United States of America, thereby building public pressure to allow him or give him the credence to go out and do these strikes. I mean, this is not a legal supposition. This isn't a legal question. I mean, he's not trying to. He's not trying to ask a legal question. What he's trying to do is say, look, fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. And you know what people think about when they hear about weapons of mass destruction? They think about terrorism. They think about the fact that people are going to die at very high rates, which fentanyl does do.
But he's been trying to
convince. Making the case.
He's been trying to convince the American people that fentanyl comes from Venezuela.
It does not.
Which it does not. It comes mostly from Mexico, with the ingredients coming from China. At least these boat strikes are in the right ocean, because every other boat strike has been in the Atlantic off the coast of Venezuela. And that is not a route that drug dealers use to bring drugs into the United States. The Pacific coast, and we don't know if it was off the coast of Mexico, off the coast of Central America. Venezuela does not have a coast on the Pacific Ocean. So at least now he's striking the right ocean. I think part of this is to distract from the fact that I think that Rob Reiner, no, you might laugh, but I think he's getting criticism from Republicans. And I always think that part of what Trump does is to distract. But he does all sorts of things.
We've been striking boats for months. So, did he know Rob Reiner was going to get murdered in September?
Because he's trying. The reason he's been shooting boats for months is because he's trying to convince the American people to justify.
You said it was a distraction.
Yeah, to justify regime change in Venezuela. For one, I'm in favor of regime change in Venezuela. I wish it wasn't. I wish the U.S. wasn't going alone. I wish we had an international coalition putting pressure on Maduro, who is a bad guy, destabilizing all of the Western Hemisphere, and he is anti-American. He's a horrible human being oppressing the people of Venezuela. But yes, these strikes off the coast of Venezuela, nothing to do with drug importation into the United States.
I disagree. Those drugs do go all over the hemisphere. They also go to Europe. They go all over the world.
They go to Europe.
Here's the deal.
They're not coming to the United States.
And there's a larger issue here, which is that Trump has long promised. He did it during his first term. He did it during his campaign, a more muscular response from the federal government to the scourge of drugs in our own hemisphere. The national security strategy, police our own hemisphere. You and I are in agreement. Maduro is a thug. He is a crime lord. He is a terrible person, and he does need to go. It's in our own backyard. If we do not police it, who will? Not to mention the fact that you made the case. Fentanyl does cause deaths, but there are other drugs that cause massive harm to thousands of American families. If we are not going to clean up the Western Hemisphere,
wait, Scott, how do you reconcile what you just said with him pardoning the former president of Honduras, who helped bring an unfathomable 400 tons of cocaine into the United States? How do you reconcile that?
I don't, other than he's not the current president, I don't.
He was serving 45 years in federal prison.
All I know is that you have boats in our hemisphere with drugs and precursors of drugs on the boats, and the deterrence
Yeah, but you can't tell me that he's deterring drug interdiction when he is pardoning the guy from Honduras.
So this is the problem that people should have with this, is that you're saying that these boats that we're bombing have drugs on them. They have bad people on them because people are bringing this drug in. And the thing about this is Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, Secretary Hesketh, no one can answer the question about who was on these boats. No one can answer the question about if drugs were on these boats. No one can answer the question about what type of drugs were on these boats. And what we're saying right now is we think we're blowing up boats with drugs on them and drug dealers on them. But the weird part about it is when you're pressed on that, you can't answer that question affirmatively. You just assume.
The government has said repeatedly, we have intelligence assets, we have military assets, we identify the boats with drugs. These are narco terrorists who are moving the drugs. You look at the footage, that ain't minnows in there. I'm here to tell you. They have intelligence assets telling them, and the deterrence factor of this is enormous.
I was in charge of a large prosecutor's office when fentanyl hit us in 2015-16. Came out of nowhere. I hadn't heard the term in 2014 or so, and it blew up. It was so bad we didn't know what to do. Cops were overdosing from touching it through the skin, right? And we had to adapt on the fly, and it is a killer, a lethal killer like we've never seen. And I approve of and applaud the administration for being ultra aggressive in going after it. But that doesn't mean you get to blow up everything you want anywhere you want. You can blow your way up out of almost any problem.
Where is fentanyl coming from?
I mean, it comes from China. It comes out from Mexico.
Do you all remember when we did our trade deal? When we did our trade deal with China, part of the agreement was that the Chinese government agreed to crack down on the precursor chemicals that were coming here. So it's not just military action. There's also diplomatic work with China. He's also been doing diplomatic work with the Mexican government, and they have, by the way, helped us reduce fentanyl coming over the border.
How much weight have we stopped from coming in from Venezuela of drugs right now? How much weight have we blown up? Or how many drug dealers have we?
But Scott's argument. Scott's argument, which is, I think, a sound one, is it's a pretty tremendous deterrent factor. For these guys,
if you kill
watching these
people,
things,
it's going to be.
But you're arguing they're innocent.
You're arguing that they're innocent.
We don't know. Right.
Look, that's my point. You don't know either.
One of the, and this speaks to legally.
You get to blow
you don't,
right.
You know
we don't
that.
get to blow up terrorists. We don't get to blow up terrorists who are disseminating at an industrial grade level chemical weapons. Chemical weapons.
But they're not. But terrorism has a specific meaning.
Fentanyl and drugs. These are chemical weapons.
They're not coming on those boats.
I would be remiss if I didn't say I wish y'all cared. I wish y'all cared in the 80s and 90s as much about crack. But anyway, let me just throw that.
It is different. I mean, fentanyl is just, you heard.
They're not coming through boats. They're not coming on boats from Venezuela. They're just not.
I agree with you.
So let's not conflate the issues. Let's not misinform.
Most of it in Colombia, and then it comes to Mexico, and then it comes to...
Okay, so as we're talking about these things coming into the country and the administration being very aggressive trying to knock out drugs from wherever they're coming from, whether it's stopping things from coming over the border in Mexico or whether it's bombing boats in whether it's the Pacific or the Caribbean. There's another issue here that if you're going to attack this on a sort of war on drugs sort of issue, what about the demand? Because that part of it has not been talked about much by the administration. The demand is here. Why would it be coming into the country? What are they doing on that part? Shouldn't they be addressing that as well?
A lot of it is used as a cutting agent. So you're thinking you're buying pure cocaine and it's getting cut with fentanyl because the fentanyl is
right,
more
but it's
available.
still demand.
Yes, yeah. Well, it goes back to saying why aren't we going after the crack stuff? But we did have.
I shouldn't say stepped on national TV, but to explain what stepped on. I mean,
no, but there was something in the '80s. Just say no. I mean, there was a huge push against drugs back then. But now, yes, there is this demand for fentanyl. I think it has to do with and I'll defer to Ellie because he was a lead prosecutor on this stuff. I think it's got to do with a cost to the wholesaler. So he could, raw cocaine costs more than the fentanyl. Right. So they mix it up together and they're saving money by selling it.
But it also gets you higher.
It's a different.
So instead of cutting it with baby laxative, which is what they did, which is why people in New York clubs are pooping everywhere.
Because there's demand for something doesn't mean we should throw up our hands and say, well, there's demand for it. Sorry.
No. But I'm saying addressing it. Like we're talking about, right.
The demand for fentanyl, the reason so many people get hooked on fentanyl is because of what we call pill mills, right? Certain doctors, I've made cases against, were known, if lines around the corner, people who get hooked because they had surgery, they had an athletic injury, whatever. It's so overpowering, right? The opioid industry has been great reporting and journalism on that. Opioid industry has a lot to answer for. We collectively as a government, Democrats and Republicans alike, have done a good job of cracking down on that, regulating that. These doctors are more carefully regulated. So there are things that can and have been done also, on the demand side as well.
But also, I mean, the war on drugs failed. I mean, everybody recognizes that, right? I don't think anybody wants to sit here and say Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan were A-OK and right about this. The war on drugs failed.
They tried.
But we're 45 years behind the ball right now. That's my biggest point.
Well, it's a different drug. Crack is basically not going to work.
But crack already destroyed generations of families.
On the cocaine issue, isn't it true that a lot of the fentanyl winds up in the cocaine? I mean,
well, that's what this is what these guys write.
So the cocaine boats, if that's what they're coming in from Venezuela, isn't it part of the delivery?
No, Venezuelan boats are not coming to the United States. They're going to Trinidad and Tobago, and from there going to
it goes there
Puerto
too?
Rico is an American commonwealth.
I know. So it goes there too. Do we not have a responsibility?
But if you were going to hit the boats bringing, the route, then you go through the one going through Central America, like Honduras, like the one that the president he just pardoned allowed to go through his country and then come into the United States. And if you're going to fight drugs and make this such a big issue, which I agree with and I hope he does, you then need to take the opportunity of a tragedy like the Reiner family to talk about that 1 in 3 American adults says their family has been impacted by drug addiction instead of making it about the stupid
political
stuff he makes it about.
All right, just ahead.